All right, now we're going to begin the interior inspection of this unit. And first thing we're going to do, as we talked earlier, is check the door seals. And that's a rubber lip on a roll-up door. And the ideal thing is to inspect it all the way up. And this one's damaged here. Unfortunately, this door is so rusty it's jammed. And I and one other person can't move it up or down. So it's stuck where it's at. But if you see damaged door seals like this, that it was in pretty good condition and then all of a sudden it's broken off and torn, that's something that needs to be written up. Here's another one. You can see that there are some tears in this one too. And that might look minor, but you get several of these tears, like you see right here. That all lets heat in. And if you're dealing with temperatures that are hot and you're trying to haul frozen, every little bit of heat that you let in is gonna make it harder for that unit to maintain temperature. All right, now we'll turn our attention to the sidewalls on the inside. So if we take a look, this one's got some interior battle scars that are worse than outside because they go right through to the insulation. You can see the light yellow insulation underneath there. And this one is about 4 feet long and it's cut the whole way. There's one more in here, a little bit farther on the right-hand side. Someone looks like they had tried to repair this with tape, but that insulation, even if it feels dry to you, moisture can get in there when you're hauling a cold load, and that whole panel would be leaking heat right through, because waterlogged insulation is about as good as no insulation at all. When you look at the rest of the sidewalls in this trailer, they're actually in pretty darn good condition for a trailer that's at least 10 years old. The door is the biggest problem, and if I look at the ceiling on this unit, the ceiling looks really good. The only thing interrupting the ceiling is the interior lights. The next thing we're going to turn our attention to is the evaporator. And to get at the evaporator, we're going to have to remove that plastic bulkhead you see and the large aluminum evaporator panel behind it, because we got to get right to the evaporator to make sure it's not clogged, which can interfere with the unit's ability to cool. So I'm going to break the video here and I'm going to remove the plastic panel and then show you progress when I'm done. So I've removed the plastic bulkhead on this unit, and you want to make sure the plastic bulkhead is in good condition because it's there to protect your trailer and the unit. And I'm inspecting the screen for the air inlet and just making sure there's no major cracks or breaks in it, and it's in good condition. There are a couple of issues here. First off, on the left side, on the driver's side, the bracket that holds that plastic bulkhead off the ground is in place, but on the right-hand side, it's missing. So it doesn't fit right, and it can allow debris around the edges and into the evaporator coil. Now, I indicated that the evaporator coil is behind a large aluminum panel, and you can see it here. Plus, here's the other reason for that plastic bulkhead is to protect the unit. And you can see that this one has a 3-inch wide cut right smack dab through the rear aluminum panel. And so for that reason alone, this unit would need to be inspected and checked. So my next step is to take a Torx T27 and remove this panel, which will give us access to the evaporator coil. So we've removed the evaporator panel off of this unit, and we can see that there's some stuff, and so we're going to get close, and what you're going to see is lots of stuff across the top few rows blocking airflow. That's all got to come off. And then when you look lower, it looks like, oh, that's not quite so bad, right? Well, let's take a flashlight and let's actually look in here. So you start looking in there and you see that there's gobs of debris between the fins and plastic. So right there, there's some plastic, there's all kinds of crap in here. And this stuff can mess up your airflow to the point where the unit is not cooling well. So unit can be physically okay otherwise, but you have airflow that's interrupted, and it causes a problem. Now, this is a 3,500 cubic foot per minute fan, and it really sucks stuff in. So we got to get the stuff off the surface first, and then we deal with the stuff that's farther inside. And a good example is right here, you see a piece of plastic that looks like it's been pulled down in between the fins. Can't even see it unless you're looking it straight on. All that's got to come out. And now we're going to show you how to do that. So the first thing from a safety standpoint that you need to know is those fins are sharp. You definitely don't want to push hard against those fins in that coil because you can lacerate yourself. The second issue is you need to glove up because this unit hauls food. Some of the stuff may be simple packaging and dry goods. Well, that's not so bad, but then what you start seeing is units that haul meat or poultry or seafood, and they can not only stink to high heaven, but you can be exposing yourself to pathogens. So you want to make sure that you pull out everything that you can reach off the surface as your first step. And this can take a while. So what we do is pick the stuff off the surface first, and then we'll come back and we'll take another look. All right, so I've hand-picked what I can off, and you can see there's still some stuff on the surface, but I'm having a hard time picking it out. So the next step is preferred use a soft bristle brush, and you can see the effect of that here in a second while I glove back up here. What you're doing with your brush is you're trying to pull stuff out. And what I found works is you basically take your brush and you rotate it. And what it's going to do, it's going to lift some stuff out near the surface, and you can reach in and you can start picking it out again. Because you can only go in so far with gloves without cutting your gloves on the fins and or damaging the fins. So what you do is you take your time, you pick this stuff up. Now if you do this at every PM, it's not going to build up like you saw here. It's not going to be a big problem. And you also got to clean your brush periodically too. Now, you're going to get as much as you can off by this method. And once you get an area done, you just keep working your way down. And as you work your way down, sometimes it also helps to go and rotate the brush the opposite direction. Once again, you're trying to pick things that it lifts out from between the fins so that you can get them. And if you keep working an area, eventually you get most of the stuff packed into the surface. Now what you don't want to do with a dirty coil like this is simply get a pressure washer out and pressure wash toward the fins. Now you're going to push this stuff in further and you'll never get it out. So you lift as much as you can out, and then you've got another phase. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take something real simple like Dawn dish soap and water. And after you get the heavy off and you're more like what you see here, you take Dawn dish soap and water, cut 1-to-1 in a spray bottle, and you spray it all over the inside of that coil and leave it set, because you want it to dissolve this dusty buildup that's also on these fins. And then after you get the whole coil to the point where you can do the spray soap and water, then you just get a garden hose and warm water, and you start rinsing this stuff through and out. And what it'll do is it'll drop down and go down into the drain assembly down here, and that'll allow you to flush it all out. If you take a pressure washer to this at this stage, you'll just make sure that you'll never ever able to clean it out, because this coil is several rows thick. You can see over on this side that this coil's got a row here and a row farther in. It's hard to see, but there's like 5 rows to that coil from the far inside to the out. And once it's pushed in by a pressure washer, you never get it out. All right, so we've got 3/4 of it out. We haven't done the hose and soapy dish soap water yet, but this trailer's in a spot where I can't get at it. But I wanted to give you an idea of everything that I found. So that pile of loose debris all came out of between those fins. So after you get the evaporator coil cleaned, you put the back panel on, and then you put your plastic bulkhead back on if it's equipped with one. Now, this one didn't have a bracket on the left, and you can see how there's an aluminum bracket that holds it in place, and it's pretty tight to the wall when you look down the edge here. This side did not have that bracket, and as tight as I can get the strap that holds it on front, you can see that there's quite the gap, and air can go around here, not go through the screen in the bottom of the bulkhead, and pull all kinds of debris up into the evaporator coil.